Made it. I made it. It's so great. It's so great to be live today. Happy Easter. Christ rose immediately, like all good conscious dyers before him, crossed the threshold and came back immediately. And the covenant has now been realized. Therefore, we can move beyond his level of teaching. Wait and see, guys. I can see 550, 60 years from now. Everything is cool. I get it. Mark Carney signing in all sorts of fucking furtive bullshit behind the scenes, just dying for a chance to take another fucking foul swoop at us and institute my wallet down their 5 chains. Period. They're trying to get as much clout mustered up as they can to produce the meager next steps of their ridiculous chicanery. And I'm now, moving forward confidently after I did my successful turning the income generator into a straight assets field. And now it's stuck in my bank account and my digital identity. Hello, I get my pace back. Income generator, all at assets and no liabilities. They couldn't handle liabilities because they were putting out $500 billion lending projects like they were putting out 10-kilometer deep earthquakes in the years before that. I honestly don't care what anybody says. My book's almost out and it's scathing. It's 150 pages of everything that's been going on behind the scenes, and it's fantastic. I honestly can hardly keep up with this thing. It takes such a clarity of intellect to even write the thing and to make it accurate and to be credible as a journalist and to stick with the basics of that which I am uncovering and work it into the modern context, pizza burn and all. I've got a pizza burn, but it's healing, and it's so hard to be reduced to the edges of society. So many people out there suffering through poverty, while these pricks think they're going to get another nasty appointment out of the Canadian electoral process and just perpetuate all of this public sector fraud. Public sector fraud that saw triage units create gambling rings and cash in on cremation of fentanyl overdosers, people they had isolated and annihilated in identity every time they pulled them in and spit them out of some facet of the social framework, the annals of society. Anyway, I'm not sure why I did all these live streams in the end, because I'm holding out hope that my digital identity can be processed by these big holographic income image generators. And these are all the new models of all the proteins that I solved. Oh God, the potential for this stuff is just so unfathomably brilliant. You have to know that the only way we can sidestep this is to allow it to decay on the vine that it's created for itself. Neural vines, people holding on to these structures as if they're their own neural paths, clinging, dangling, made ultra mundane for a living. I continue to live stream because I want to see my chat alive with, future prospects for this kind of economy based in digital limitlessness and project bearing fruit and communication and organization and transparency and accountability, markets that just detail projects that you can bid onto and bring whatever resources are needed at the time, just write in the next phase of development and cash and fund it. Just keep in mind, these guys are now using my digital identity to lend at a deficit and work within the meager trillions, half of which they own personally. And it's just so horrific and nightmarish that my book will be written by May, June at the latest. and we're moving on to a better day. Like, I'm finally gonna be at the stage where I can walk into society, and I'm adamant that I keep all of my social media, whatever I've been reduced to, intact the way it sits, because I have no issue with going back through each of my decisions throughout that assault, and just to remind Daddy, you're a beggar who tried it. You should never have come at me. I was way too educated by the covenant by then. And you think you guys know the Ark of the Covenant. Well, we're here to tell you, we are in the living flesh, my friend, fully, consciously realized and confirmed back on the census. The feat of Miss Newton is ripe for acknowledgement, and she's now ready to walk into the hub of the collective like she's always been able to, and dictate what occurs, you know, instead of, mirroring the economy where it is and starting to lend at an arbitrary deficit, mirroring the economy where it is and starting to build out and around it in digital limitless amounts. Income generation, Royal Canadian Federal Reserve, Canadian Digital Currency Reserve. I'm sorry, guys. You're no longer needed at the borders. It's just a beep and all the SKUs associated with your transactions. Sorry, but we got to link SKU to transaction can be identified as either legal or illegal based on standards and certification mechanisms that are not globalist maintained. Those are fucking hideous pricks, and they're taking all the channels, like the ones between Detroit and Ontario, the ones under the Juan de Fuca down here, and splitting them so they can traffic up the middle their new global supply chain and render redundant, except for in the state of running the hospital, the municipal, province, and federale behind them. This immigration crisis was only caused by the federale guys. Sorry, Mexico, we're using your term, because they just ran roughshod to an extent that is preposterous. It put them all in bald heads and big beards and ran them around Canada, bald-headed, big-bearded freaks, because these guys let the back doors off the prisons when they went digital with their magnetic monitoring system. Do you know those magnetic monitoring systems have the ability to collapse steel and disintegrate cement? They're too strong. You think that the trade towers fell for any reason other than the fact that the magnetics cued and collapsed the entire thing? It didn't. It fell to the magnetic grid, pulverizing the flesh and bones around it. I promise. It's the most dangerous locking system there's ever been. And it's not sustainable. And it's already completely corrupted. It's an inside job, guys. An immigration scandal this big is an inside job. And we're talking the full extent of trafficking, drug trafficking, gutting the very institution of the gang cycle that you guys co-created, only to work with a group of private security Taliban members who are willing to fucking sell out in the heart of Canada and look at a Canadian like they get away with. Well, no, they tried, but they got subdued in that action. Worse stinkfist than any Nova Scotian ever fucking designed. And these guys are thinking, good, we've closed the bank account. Now she finally doesn't have access to her own digital identity. Oh yeah, keep overrating, guys. You'll never find it. You'll never find my system of private channels with direct market access. You'll never admit how we enshrined the World Wide Web as the best safe haven for these interactions. Advertisement on the World Wide Web and direct to market personalized wallets. We're moving back from this layer of stretchable digital infrastructure where you can run a private class of goons on anyone and just yank their pinprick. It's about an infinite holographic system that bounces light within light off every given digital numerical resonance, or instead allowing people to stretch your very reality in order to populate it with predators that would seek to annihilate you based on how much cock you're willing to gobble, to be honest. Oh God, YouTube, don't take it down. It's bad enough I can't even broadcast on my last channel, and my channel before that was unscrupulously removed. Oh, you'll just take back the Gmail account, will ya? Well, what was the reason for that? And the Hotmail account before that, and the fucking PayPal account, and the Scotiabank account. Like, the amount of arbitrary tampering I went through. When I insist, I went through picking up a phone line, having control of Discord, Microsoft, Proton, the Proton decks, everything through my identity. And now I can't even sync the final core of my identity into a valid phone because it's too precarious. Once I do that, I have to solidify this end user management propensity I have woven in to being in sync with one's own digital assets. It's a link between the person, the laptop, and the phone. And it's a space that is completely protected within the hologram and can remain completely open to the market. It was 3 years ago now I wrote in the emergency broadcast mechanism to include interaction with those nearby, and finally put to good use the nearby network, which was intended to be used subsequent to my activity to isolate, target, and stretch the reality of anyone they sought to victimize. Having witnessed what happened here in Canada as they cultivated the homeless, as they cultivated huge gambling rings, as they disrupted medical procedures and began to forcibly call people without appointments, day of reckoning kind of insurgents coming at the proletariat, constantly forcing new next appointments on people until they took the arc of their life into a shorter 80-year maximum, just degradation into nervous paralysis based on the injections they were being fed. I mean, I voted conservative today because I just want to be tucked under the wing of someone who is at least trying to progressivize capitalism. We're starting with capitalism. My income generator, which would like to be able to mirror the global economy and start working away at poverty and debt, instead of mirroring the global economy and then setting a deficit in a trillions dollar cap. Like, it's stupid, and I have a long way to go before I can get there, but I can actually see myself pulling off social reintegration to the extent that I'm capable of, and stepping into my brilliance as the creator of something far less ludicrous. It's just far less ludicrous. You don't need to authenticate to hold your own wallet. You don't need to have these monopolists demanding total control of the public space, of your private information, just so your Facebook account can be hacked quicker and quicker after your death, or supposed death, which could just mean putting to sleep in the caverns, so you can become, what's it called? Non-relevant player in the lucid continuum. Remember, Hollywood didn't start creating this lucid continuum. The lucid continuum budded from within it and then just tried to take on a whole sector of new inhabitants because there was the theft of the mental band of human interaction and the displacement of that in the hopes that it could be enshrined and made a prison with specific coordinates. So the ugliest story that was ever written, and it's the Covenants versus the Crusaders in the end. And the Crusaders are out there desperately trying to pin the Covenant on some golden object stashed somewhere. But as far as the Covenants go, we say, reveal our meditations, because we meditated on them over centuries, and they are part of our art collection, which we are now revealing. Like I said, the modern scripture is Vedic. It is already written. Sri Chinmoy will not be suppressed from perpetuating when he pulled off a mission that complete and glorious. Aurobindo, same thing, to have prophesied Jonah and South to such clarity, to have confirmed the battle between the beast and South once Jonah was annihilated. To fulfill the Christian prophecy so magnificently and not think you have the credibility to go forward and create the next phase. The Jewish gave you conscious rulemaking. The Christians gave you ask and ye shall receive. In the modern Vedic scriptures, which is the next level of Christian evolution, talks about surrender to your soul and constant realization on the forefront of good project, deliberately and consciously, mandating only what's necessary to ensure basic thriving. Mandate is done by agreement and always has been. Mandate is not something that can be imposed, forced, concocted arbitrarily, threatened. Just the deplorable nature of these last 10 years, this privatized takeover and epic failure upon inception of the privatized, globalized mediocrity. It's just mediocrity, guys. There's nothing on live streams except spam. It's all spam. I can't get to a normal person on Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube. I'm being declared spam on Twitter just out of spite because my community notes have made it so I'm an undesirable. Community noted project. She talks about vaxes. She talks about weather work. She talks about the private wallet and the bank account of Sarah Newton that is of such concern to everyone, using her fingerprints and voice recognition right now to run rank shot on everything. Therefore, she is going to be labeled spam and forced to hyper verify just to get access to spam accounts. Elon had a little plug installed in every search field that would allow your data to be accessed. He's now sitting here trying to get planes to hold the internet and pulling planes out of orbit because he's putting such an array influence on them from the Starlink network. Again, if they succeeded in getting internet on planes, they could easily bounce through economic classism. Jesus. Yeah. Just the lack of dignity of them. All the things they try. Sitting here watching Elon drop planes, pretending he's not trying to wire airlines for internet. What are we supposed to be doing with ourselves when so many refugees are being displaced, so many cellular networks still need to be developed, so much water still needs to be commissioned. We can create water, we can dump minerals, we can do all sorts of things once we get on a vibrational level with reality and understand the resonant frequency of all things. You see, everything has a wave and a pinprick. And your pinprick is your identity, and that is how you bounce waves off of each other. You know that Hertz frequency and you enter it at the particular point in the equation. I just love what's coming next. And I ain't going anywhere. So I don't know what we're going to do with me. I just have to spruce up, get clean, meaning stay clean, and hobble my way back into the social fabric. Because I was almost a missing persons. And I'm refused to give up anything but my free market access. I'm the plaintiff, and I'm always going to be the plaintiff. And if you knew what I had done to enshrine the password and protect within a hologram everybody's individualized, personalized record of transactions, you'd make way for me and try and make my next moves easier. But with the closing of the Scotiabank account, that was heart-wrenching. But it allows me to at least argue for that transactional history and preserve my that's a page in history that was created, and you can't just take that interface away from the individual because you don't like how they scream for help when you're harming them directly. Keep in mind, I only ever screamed for help. I only ever once sought to get proof that CGI could be tampered with, and I eventually had to become the martyr to make that happen. So I sparked a few QR codes to make sure the SKUs stayed relevant, and like I always did throughout the magnetic masterpiece that I was able to carry out. And allowed them to CGI the footage to make it look like I was instead of. Anyway, it is what it is. There's been a lot of people paving my way for about 20 years now. But being as I'm the one that created the framework upon which Facebook first marketed the private online channel, and he deserves punishment. He deserves punishment for collapsing that to a bunch of recommended spam accounts that make it virtually impossible to interact with anyone you don't have the specific name of. Same thing with X. You can't find anyone just participating on X. You just get bombarded with spam accounts. YouTube, same thing. The live streams, they refuse to account for themselves. They're moderated, they're administrated when they don't need to be. They can be completely fucking governed by anyone who wants to show up. We don't need subscriptions. We don't need anything. We just need our words, quite frankly. And the bones of Discord provide the opportunity to come together in our own private rooms, organizing conversation. And the Proton Dex provides an avenue to classify current projects and link these community engagement hubs that are seeking to help the forefront of each of these projects flourish. The more I move forward, the more adamant my autism becomes to be allowed to tell you what I've been through entirely. And every night I risk them taking up an upload. They know it's Covenant art. They're the Crusaders, and they know it's Covenant art. So they take uploads of everything I write, and they have for 10 years now. And it was an honor to kick your ass, Crusaders, when you came at me, and I stepped into it directly, knowing full well that your imminent disaster was at hand, because you had nothing except for weak and tawdry offenses that I swatted like gnats. Oh, well, it's so nice talking to you today. Like I said, Christ came and went immediately, like any illumined master who has conscious passing achieves. Once you achieve conscious passing, because you cleared out all your dumb mistakes and surrendered, learned the process of surrender to that which is realization, you have the same death and you come back conscious of everything, you find your connections. It's quite a brilliant way to travel, and that's why it's been kept semi-secret, because there's been so few and far between that have actually perfected their life's trajectory. And within perfecting your own life's trajectory, please know maneuvers are possible. You're still working within a social infrastructure that was here for a time based on the project's forefront. So we'd go, if then there's all these factors, we could potentially move in these 10 directions, which we should move in all of them for these reasons, mitigating these risks, and then they can give rise to this orientation. You see what I mean? There's just so much more. And then if we just make available digital amounts of funding through digital networks, sky's the limit. Sky's the limit. So it's not that I'm trying to move to digital overnight without half the people being trained on it, like Daddy has, and try to cultivate an elite group that get a one price tag, when really price is the only thing in an economy that's truly random. It's easily randomizable based on inputs, economic inputs of the person, based on economic outputs of the person, based on SKUs present, even SKUs for relevant companies they're dealing with. A price emerges, and it's enough to fill the businesses and the person's objectives both, if they are the two doing the transaction. Anyway, it is what it is, but that's part of the advanced level of understanding that's to come if I am allowed to speak my own truth and represent my own material in society. Luckily, God's giving me this perfect book, 150 pages, details the whole thing precisely, reminds everyone that I was a reporter going in, and that doesn't just get taken from me. Yeah, let's breathe. 2/5 of the society is not demanded for ransom anymore. We do not have to turn a blind eye while cops just descend on whoever the fuck they want and fuck shit up for a homeboy. Like, your prisons are being emptied, your hospitals are being emptied. We're not listening to your genetic misinformation campaigns. You have failed to deliver a quality product based in vibrational medicine, and you don't have any more shots at it. Hi, progenitors. I'll name you when I feel like naming your asshats. Bye. Thanks for listening.